People assume that I've made significant achievements in my career and must be a shrewd woman, but that's not the case. I had a failed marriage. My ex-husband was an unambitious man who never strived for improvement. As my income kept rising higher and higher, I discovered that we were increasingly out of sync, both physically and mentally. Eventually, I filed for divorce. I thought I wouldn't look for another man and would just focus on work and making money. I also have a decent side business that brings in a little extra income. But then I met a man 12 years younger than me, and once again, I fell into a relationship. As my subordinate, several levels below me, we don't usually cross paths. The real interaction with A started when there was a processing task. One day, I got off work late, and when I went to the parking lot, I met A who had just returned from an outside delivery. He parked the company's pickup truck in the garage and greeted me warmly. I nodded and smiled. When I got into my car, I saw walking towards the elevator. He didn't have a car. It was raining heavily that day, so I stopped him and asked where he was going. If it was on the way, I could give him a ride. I was very cheerful and chatted with me in the car. Most of the conversation was about work. At that time, I felt he was a relatively straightforward person, not behaving nervously or humbly because I was the leader. Ever since that encounter with A, I saw him frequently. Every time, he would give me a warm smile. I have to admit that being young is an advantage, especially with that handsome face. I noticed that he often chatted with me privately, and I couldn't help but have my heart race faster. He used to call me Mr. Tian, and later, I don't know when, he started calling me Sister Tian. My feelings towards him also changed. At first, I treated him as a colleague, but gradually, I regarded him as a close friend. The breakthrough in our relationship was when I broke my foot. Just as A sent me a message, I took a picture to show him. At that time, I probably just wanted him to feel sorry for me. Half an hour later, A said he had bought some bone-setting pills and was downstairs in the complex, asking me which building I lived in. After entering the house, he first praised the nice decoration of my home. Then on the couch, he gently applied the medicine for me. Maybe it had been too long since I had contact with a man. My heart was beating rapidly. After applying the medicine, we chatted on the couch. Our bodies were very close, and the atmosphere was a little ambiguous. Then he confessed to me. He said that he noticed me when he first joined the company and thought I was a very attractive woman. We had great chats over the past 2 months. He knew I had a family and should keep his distance from me, but he just couldn't control himself. I also had some longing for A's youthful body and enjoyed his care for me. A said many sweet things that day. My heart was moved and my body softened, and then we had a relationship. The entire process, A was very gentle and the foreplay was excellent. My experience was wonderful. I even felt that at that moment, I truly experienced the joy of being a woman. After crossing this line, I often came to my house, cooked for me, and after dinner, we would enjoy intimate moments together. He wouldn't leave until about 10 o'clock. I asked him if it was so late to go back, how would he explain to his family? He said that he used to go out to work part-time after work and always came back very late, so his wife wouldn't suspect. At that time, I felt that A was really caring. Physically, he gave me a pleasant experience that my ex-husband never did. Spiritually, he spoiled me like a little woman. After a month of this back and forth, I said hesitantly that during this time when he came to me after work, he didn't go to work part-time and often bought groceries, so there was no way to pay his wife's living expenses. He was afraid that his wife would suspect him and wanted to borrow some money from me. I directly transferred 2万 yuan to him and told him not to repay it. I thought he was worth it. That day, he was especially passionate in bed. Maybe I was charmed by A and I fell a little in love with him. I couldn't bear to see him suffer in life. Later, I was very generous to him on Valentine's Day and Christmas, which are supposed to be days when boys transfer money to girls. I would also transfer 5200 yuan to him. Once, he complained to me that it was painful to take the bus. I offered to buy him a car. He refused at first but agreed under my repeated persuasion. In the end, we decided to buy a car for about 10万 yuan. Later, when A's parents' house was renovated, I gave another 5万 yuan. When his son needed to attend an interest class or pay tuition, I would transfer money to him as well. At work, I spared no effort to help him. I first quietly gave him the opportunity to perform and then took the opportunity to recommend him as a supervisor. I wanted to take it slowly, step by step. There would be a chance for him to become a manager in the future. He was still young, and as long as he was willing to work hard, the possibilities were endless. I truly regarded him as my man and saw myself as his woman. As for his family, he said it himself that it was his responsibility. I didn't have much desire for marriage and didn't want to destroy his family either. I thought as long as he truly loved me, it was fine. Until last year, my assistant resigned and I found a temporary assistant. The truth of many things was revealed. This assistant was originally in the same department as A. It was a young girl who just graduated from school, very good at dressing up and with stylish looks. The makeup was also exquisite and the nail art was very tasteful. I once casually asked her where she got her manicure. She told me that A's wife ran a nail salon. Many of her colleagues went to her to get their nails done. The two of them were really good and colleagues would get a 20% discount. I thought I had heard a mention it once. His wife was in the beauty industry. Unexpectedly, he promoted his wife's business within the company. I felt a little uncomfortable. I casually asked the assistant about the exact location of the nail salon. The assistant began to flip through a circle of friends. I had never seen a post anything like this. It turned out he had blocked me and I was a little curious at the time. Maybe he had blocked me from something else. When the assistant dug out his circle of friends, I couldn't help but take my phone and look through it. I found out that I often showed affection. There were photos of a family of 3 going out to play, photos with his wife alone, and there was also him cooking for his wife. He specially took photos. Wasn't there no emotion? Wasn't there no sex? But from the circle of friends, he was obviously a good family man. It's just that this side of him had never been shown to me. The next day, I left work early. Something evil made me go to A's wife's shop. On the way, thought I was ridiculous. I was the other woman. What was I doing in his wife's shop? After arriving at the place, I identified his wife among several nail technicians. I said I wanted her to do my nails for me. At that time, his wife still had a guest who was almost done. She told me to wait. Later, I told her that I was a colleague of her husband. I quickly cut to the chase and said that A was a good man and that he promoted her business everywhere to help her. This sentence suddenly opened the conversation box of A's wife. She began to talk non-stop about how good A was. She told many little things. I summed it up. Taking care of the family, doing all the household chores, taking care of the child, spoiling his wife, handing over all the money he earned to his wife, even the bonus. Last year, he also used the bonus to buy a car for his wife and paid for her nail salon. He was filial and gave 50,000 yuan when his parents-in-law renovated the house. He was diligent. Besides his regular job, he usually worked part-time. I still wasn't willing to give up, so I asked her directly, "You are so affectionate. How is it in that aspect?" His wife didn't care much and said with a shy face, "When you first fall in love, once or twice a day. Now that we're busy and have a kid, only twice a week." I felt like I had eaten something bad. I felt sick and sad. That night, I had a direct showdown with A now. I didn't believe he loved me. I confronted him directly. "You're with me just for the money, right?" After this incident, I came to a conclusion. Never believe a man who says he loves you outside of marriage. Most of it is false. Even if they are passionate at first, after the passion fades, they still love their wives. After all, the one in the family is the one whose interests are tied to